All right, if you're a Kubernetes pro and you've got your sights set on that Red Hat OpenShift Administrator certification, you are in exactly the right place. Think of this as your strategic briefing for absolutely crushing the EX280 exam.
So let's get right to it. You've mastered pods, you get services, you can write deployment YAML in your sleep, but is that really enough for OpenShift's notoriously tough EX280 exam? That's the big question we're tackling today.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, from Kubernetes Pro to Master. We're going to start by acknowledging the awesome foundation you already have, but also frame the new challenge that's in front of you.
Look, your Kubernetes knowledge is without a doubt your biggest asset here, but here's the thing you have to grasp. OpenShift isn't just another Kubernetes distribution. It's the whole car, a fully assembled, opinionated, enterprise-ready machine built for security and productivity right out of the box. Kubernetes is the engine. OpenShift is the entire vehicle.
Okay, so what are those differences really? That brings us to Section 2, OpenShift's core differences. Let's break down the why and the what that really separates OpenShift from the vanilla Kubernetes you already know and love. Probably the best way to think about this is with this analogy. If Kubernetes is the powerful, flexible kernel of an operating system, then OpenShift is the full-blown enterprise distribution, kind of like Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It takes that kernel and bundles it with all the tools, the security, and the utilities you actually need to run in production.
So, one of the first places you'll feel this difference is right there on the command line. And here's the good news. All that kubectl muscle memory you've built up, it's still totally valid, because OC is just a superset. But you get these powerful new commands like OC login for handling authentication smoothly, and OC new app, which can build and deploy an app from a Git repo in a single step. It's a real upgrade.
Now let's talk about some of the new toys, the new resources. First up, build configs. You see, in Kubernetes, you're usually building images somewhere else in an external CI/CD pipeline. OpenShift brings that process right into the cluster. A build config is a native resource that tells OpenShift how to turn your source code into a runnable container image, often using this amazing strategy called source-to-image, or S2I.
And next up, we've got image streams. Now this is a really clever idea. Instead of pointing your deployments directly to a specific image tag in a registry, you point them to an image stream. It's like a stable internal pointer. And why does this matter? Because you can set up triggers to automatically kick off a new deployment whenever a new version of the image is pushed. It's a huge win for automating your workflows. If you're familiar with Kubernetes ingress, get ready to meet its bigger, more powerful sibling, routes. This is OpenShift's native solution for exposing your services to the outside world, and it comes packed with features right out of the box, like built-in TLS termination and advanced traffic splitting for things like blue-green deployments.
Okay, I need you to lean in for this one. If there is one single thing you absolutely, positively must master for this exam, it is this: Security Context Constraints, or SCCs. These are OpenShift's answer to pod security, and let me tell you, they are dramatically more restrictive by default than anything you'll find in a standard Kubernetes cluster. They control exactly what a pod is and is not allowed to do.
And this all boils down to a core philosophy. In OpenShift, security is not an optional add-on, it is the default. Pods are flat-out blocked from running as the root user unless you explicitly say otherwise. And this right here, this is the single biggest wall that experienced Kubernetes pros run into. A ton of public container images just assume they can be root and they will just fail to start. Troubleshooting SCCs will become a core skill for you.
Phew. Okay, so we've covered the core tech differences. Now let's switch gears and talk strategy. Welcome to Section 3, Conquering the EX280 exam.
So, the exam itself is broken down into several key areas. You can see there's a heavy focus on deploying applications, managing authentication and authorization, and of course, configuring network security. But the most crucial thing to remember is that this is a 100% hands-on test. You're not answering multiple choice questions, you're on a live cluster solving real-world problems. And the bar is, well, it's high. You need to score 210 points out of a possible 300. That's a 70% threshold. This isn't about memorizing command flags. It's about proving you have the practical, hands-on skill to manage an enterprise-grade OpenShift environment while the clock is ticking.
So, what's the game plan? How do you get there? I like to think of it as a 4-phase approach. First, you have to build that foundation, really master the architecture and that all-important security model. Then, you move on to core skills, get hands-on practice with S2I, image streams, and routes. After that, you dive into advanced topics. And finally, and this is the most critical step, you run timed, realistic exam simulations over and over until it's just second nature.
Now, theory is one thing, but there's nothing like learning from the real world. So in Section 4, we're going to dive into lessons learned from the successes and failures of people who have actually sat for this exam. Let's start with a little bit of motivation, shall we? This is a quote from a candidate who scored a perfect 300, a perfect score. They said it was the most enjoyable Red Hat exam they'd ever taken. And what that tells me is that with the right kind of preparation, focusing on that deep, hands-on practice, not just rote memorization, mastery is not only possible, it can actually be incredibly satisfying.
That's the success story. That's the goal. But to truly prepare ourselves, we have to look at the other side of the coin. Where do really skilled people, Kubernetes pros, actually stumble on this exam?
This is a gold mine of information. It's part of a real score report from someone's failed attempt. And just look at those scores. 0% in network security, 0% in developer self-service. That tells you something incredibly important. These are not areas where you can be mostly right. To get any points at all, your configuration has to be perfect and, more importantly, functional.
So why do these failures happen? It's because the automated grading system is, for lack of a better word, brutal. It does not care if your YAML is beautiful. It cares about one thing. Does the solution work? Is the application reachable? Is the policy enforced? A task that's 90% complete but has one tiny critical misstep scores 0. A small typo in an app config can lead to a total failure for that question.
And all of this brings us to the single most crucial lesson you can learn today. This exam is not about memory. It's about proof. Don't just apply configuration and move on. You have to verify it. Curl the endpoint. Try to connect from the pod that should be blocked. You have to prove to yourself and to the grading script that your solution actually works.
So we end with this question, which really brings it all together. As a Kubernetes expert, you know the engine. You know it inside and out. It's powerful. It's familiar. But OpenShift isn't just handing you an engine. It's handing you the keys to a high-performance vehicle with its own dashboard, its own safety systems, its own unique controls. The question the EX280 asks is simple. Can you get behind the wheel and actually drive it? Your preparation starts now.